With us now is Larry Kudlow, an economic advisor to Donald Trump's campaign and the co-author of the new book, JFK and the Reagan Revolution, A Secret History of American Prosperity. Larry, thank you for being here. I wish I was there with you because you are always a delight. My question for you, my friend, is this. You basically argue that John F. Kennedy, who we know was a tax cutter, you're also basically arguing he was a supply sider. Please explain.
Well, look, during the Eisenhower years, the economy didn't hardly grow. This notions of prosperity under Ike's not true, and you look at the numbers, 3 recessions. So Kennedy ran on a 5% growth, but he didn't tell you how. He ran it in the campaign, beat Nixon, and he believed, as president, if he didn't get 5% growth, he wouldn't be reelected. So initially they tried some old-fashioned government spending, did not work, economy got worse, and a Republican, this is the key, a Republican in his cabinet named Douglas Dillon was Treasury Secretary, and Dillon basically talked to him into lowering marginal tax rates across the board. High-end, middle-end, low-end, corporations, you name it. What they got was they went from 91%, which is outrageous, to 70%. And guess what? It worked. It worked very well. And all I'll say to connect the dots, John, 20 years later, as a young deputy in OMB, Ronald Reagan followed the same policies as John F. Kennedy.
Well, so, here's my question, Larry, about that. I mean, he certainly cut taxes across the board, but was Reagan actually, did he look to Kennedy for inspiration, or is it just that they implemented the same kind of tax-cutting policies?
He looked to Kennedy for inspiration. It was Jack Kemp was kind of the go-between, the late Jack Kemp, my mentor. And they said, what, we need something to get us out of the 70s mess, inflation and unemployment. So Jack said, let's just use the Kennedy tax cuts. 30% across the board, which became the Kemp-Roth bill, and Kemp sold it to President Reagan. And by the way, from day one, Reagan gave JFK credit, constantly had him in speeches, major addresses. When he sold it to the nation in early 1981, I got to remember my dates, he mentioned Kennedy and quoted Kennedy, a rising tide lifts all boats. So yeah, Kennedy was kind of the pioneer, and President Reagan was a follower, what they used to call Kemp called a duplicate. He was a duplicate.
Right. Okay, so Larry, take off your author's hat now and put on your advisor to Donald Trump hat. Yesterday, the Republican nominee was on CNBC, and he advanced a sort of like a conspiracy theory, I'd say, where he said that Janet Yellen is keeping interest rates low in order to help Barack Obama and help Hillary Clinton get reelected. He previously had said nice things about Janet Yellen. I know you like low interest rates. He says he likes low interest rates. So what's this about, and what merit, if any, do you think this argument has about Yellen acting with political motivations?
Well, as an old Fed guy, that's how I started my career a long time ago. Presidents don't dictate to Fed chairmen. They may discuss, they may talk, but Fed people are very independent, and they have disagreements among themselves. You're seeing one right now inside the Federal Reserve, whether to raise rates or not. It's a big disagreement, and the economic models have fallen. But no, I don't see a conspiracy. I think Yellen is doing what she thinks is best. Lael Brandon, whatever her name is, from the Treasury now at the Fed, she came out and said, no, let's not raise rates. They're having a debate inside. I don't think President Obama has a thing to do with it, frankly.
So Larry, why is Donald Trump why is he indulging in this conspiracy theory? And is there anything, if you disagree with it, that you can do to make him stop?
Well, look, I think that the Fed should be criticized. I think the Fed needs a lot of reform and a lot of restructuring, really from top on down, in a whole bunch of areas that we don't have time to focus on. So I don't have any problem with criticizing the Fed per se, and I don't think this QE business has worked very well, if at all. In fact, in recent years, I think it's done more harm than good. That's my own personal view. However, again, the Fed is an independent central bank, and you talk to the president. I was in meetings like that years ago, but the president does not dictate monetary policy, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
So Donald Trump is your pupil. You are advising him on economic policy, which is one of the only things that makes me feel great about him. But let me ask you about something he said about real unemployment. He said the real rate is 42%. The official rate is 4.9%. When you hear something like that, do you speed dial him on his cell phone and say, Donald, what are you thinking? Like, tell me how this goes down when he says something like that, and he's your student on questions of economic policy.
Please don't give me that.
Well, you're his advisor. You're his advisor.
Right. Right.
But he's being advised by you on economic policy, and he says real unemployment is 42%.
Along with many others. Let me just say that it's the truth, not just false humility. It's actually true. There are a lot of people However, there will be discussions, or there have been ongoing discussions about this. I honestly don't know where that number comes from, so I'm not really sure.
But do you call him and say, "That's what are you talking about"?
I did not. I did not call him. As I said, there are ongoing discussions about that. He's speaking to the New York Economics Club on Thursday. It's a very important speech. And what I can assure you, these things notwithstanding, it's going to be a powerful economic growth speech. As Trump has a terrific tax cut plan, which frankly is very much like JFK's and Reagan's, and he has a good plan to roll back regulations, including Obamacare, and the country needs growth. That's the key point. The country needs economic growth.
Larry,
you will hear that from Mr. Trump.
It's a good debate.
We got to go. We got to go. And I know there's no possible way you think the real unemployment rate is 42%.